This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and today we're going to look at the LG Spectrum 2 available on Verizon Wireless. It has fairly high-end specs, but it only costs $99 on contract, and we're going to look at it now. So this is the LG Spectrum 2. It's available now on Verizon Wireless and has fairly high-end specs for $99. Usually you have to pay $199 on contract to get some pretty good specs, or even higher if you're looking at a bigger phone like the Galaxy Note 2. For your $99, what do you get? 4.7-inch IPS display. LG makes some really fine IPS displays. Very clear, very sharp, certainly bright enough to see outdoors. Resolution is 1280 by 720, which is pretty standard among higher-end Android phones. Is only beat by the few 1080p phones on the market like the HTC Droid DNA. You can see we actually have 4 capacitive buttons down here. Not just 3, but 4. That's a little bit different. We have back, home, the multitasking button, and the usual menu button right there. Phone runs on the usual 1.5 gigahertz Qualcomm Snapdragon S4 Plus CPU. That's 1.5 gigahertz with dual cores and Adreno 225 graphics, so it's as capable as most any other smartphone that you're going to see on the market. There are now a couple of quad cores on the market, but mostly this is pretty mainstream for the high end, and performance is good. It's snappy, plays games wonderfully, can play 1080p video, capable in that respect. Phone has 1 gig of RAM and 16 gigs of internal storage, about 11.5 of which are available for your use, and there is a micro SD card slot under the back cover. It's running Android OS 4.04 Ice Cream Sandwich. LG hasn't said yet about when this might get Jelly Bean, and their track record for OS updates has not been really impressive so far, so I'm not holding my breath. It's an LTE phone, as you can see right up here. We have our little LTE symbol. Good reception, better than average reception, and good call quality as well, and also very good data speeds. If we take a look at our speed test downloads and upload test results, you'll see what we've got right here. So very good, as high as 21 megabit per second down and over 10 megabit per second up. The places where you see that the upload speeds were a little bit slower is when we only had 2 bars of LTE. When we had 4 to 5 bars, which is full to just under full, picked up to the point where we saw very good speeds for upload and download both. Overall, this is one of the fastest phones that we've tested, so I'm pretty impressed with that. So what's the bad news with the LG Spectrum 2? It is just not the prettiest looking phone. I'm not the only reviewer that's picked on it, but looks are only skin deep. Then again, personal electronics are very personal, and we do look at them as an element of style. From the front, it looks okay. It's a little bit rectilinear, very straight, that kind of thing. On the side here, we have the chrome, and it looks thin because what you first notice is the chrome, and you don't notice this rubbery black second half of the side right here. It actually has a black rubbery back that kind of just looks blammed on there. It doesn't really go visually with the phone very well, and it's actually not such a skinny phone as it turns out. Okay, so they just managed to hide it pretty well. Reminds me of LG Windows phones from Windows mobile phones from about 4 years ago, honestly. So not the best looking, but then again, I have seen uglier. It's not a hideously cheap looking phone either. We have our 8 megapixel camera here with LED flash on the back. Speaker hole right there, and then right over here, you can barely see, but this is where your grab point is. You can take the back off, which is always a nice point on a phone. That means you can swap your battery out. So to do that, you just grab at the bottom corner right there. And there we have it, 2150 milliamp removable battery. There is our micro SIM card slot and a micro SD card slot. Easy to take on, easy to put back. No complaints about the rear cover in terms of its functionality. And given how rubbery it is, also it should absorb impact pretty well if you accidentally drop your phone on the backside. Up top here we have our little round power button, pretty easy to operate, not too easy to accidentally press. 3.5 millimeter headphone headset jack. Nothing going on the bottom right there. Nothing going on this side. Pretty simple design. And over here we have our volume controls, rocker up and down, and micro USB port for charging and for copying data from your PC onto the device. In terms of software customization, LG puts their own special UI on here, but it's gone a little bit lighter. We get our little Yahoo Weather widget up here, and for the applications we got our separation of drawer, all apps, downloaded apps, widgets. Nothing too shocking there. And then we have a little settings wheel here, and you can actually delete anything that you don't want from there. Hit yep when you're done, and that's that. Other than that, we have our little launcher strip here of commonly used applications. Multiple home screens, as you can see. 5 of those. Nothing too special going on. You'll notice here, this is a Verizon phone. That means you get whatever the bloatware du jour is. And right now, they've had a relationship set up with Amazon. So you get a boatload of Amazon apps right here. Now, you can get rid of this widget if you don't want it. But we've got Amazon's IMDb, Audible, Zappos, their music store, Amazon Shopping, and Kindle on here. And in terms of widgets, we have a whole bunch of clocks you can choose from over here. That Amazon widget that we saw, an Audible widget. And the usual Google bookmarks, digital clock, the calendar, Google Maps directions, the music player, Play Store. That's about it. Now, one more neat added thing that LG's put on the phone that actually comes from the LG View and View Plus. If you press both volume buttons simultaneously, if you're blessed with that kind of coordination, there we go. We've got a little quick memo application here, and what it does is it takes a screenshot of whatever you're doing, and you can see we have little tools here for pen, eraser, for sharing, and for saving. So say I just think this home screen is the most exciting thing in the world, and I want to circle the weather, make an arrow there. You get the idea. You can do the same thing with the web page, with the PDF document. Any place that you want, you can basically grab a screenshot, draw on it, and save it, and then you can share it as you see fit. LG also has an app called RichNote, which looks at first just like your everyday memo here. We've got our lined yellow paper, but you can type whatever you want, and then you can attach an image. You take a photo right now, audio clip, record a video, set the location, stamp it with the date and time. So it's kind of like a note with a lot of little multimedia features added on there. Phone has the usual dual band Wi-Fi, 802.11 BGN, Bluetooth, and it has NFC, and you can see with a little LG Tags app, and you get a tag in the box so you can assign smart actions. Just tap the phone on the tag, the back of the phone where the NFC sensor is, and you can have a little fun with that. You've got Polaris Office on board, Real Racing 2, and the ever-present Let's Golf 3 for game demos. And for Polaris Office, which you're looking at right here, you can view, edit, and create new Office documents. We tap the menu button, you see you have an option there for new. And you can choose whether to create a Word-compatible document, spreadsheet, presentation, and set up your online access for accounts if you have some cloud storage where you have documents. In terms of performance, it does quite well. It does what you would expect it to do as a 1.5 gigahertz dual-core Snapdragon. Scores 5400 on Quadrant, 9992 on AnTuTu benchmark, 1712 on SunSpider JavaScript test, and 50 frames per second in GL benchmark with their classic Egypt test on screen. So certainly capable, and we're going to test out Dead Trigger now to see how it plays a game. And here we are testing out Dead Trigger. Definitely good frame rate. Playing just fine as a demanding 3D first-person shooter. Works well. A nice screen. That 4.7-inch IPS display, really just a pleasure. Certainly a little nicer than the AMOLED screens that we see on the Galaxy S3 and even the Motorola Droid Razr phones. And now we'll look at the bundle Let's Golf 3 demo. Looking smooth and fine so far. You can hear the speaker. Moderate loudness, not bad. You get the standard Android WebKit-based web browser. If you want to, you can download Chrome as well, but certainly we have good speeds here thanks to Verizon's fast LTE network. So here we are in the browser looking at Mobile Tech Review, our website, and you can see nice fast scrolling certainly. Pitch zooming, very responsive. A capable phone, again a very nice sharp display. One thing to keep in mind if we take a look at settings here, you see there's an independent brightness setting, much like Samsung does. So if you think your web page is looking a little dim, go ahead and take a look at that setting, because that's a real gotcha that. Notice it tends to set the brightness dimmer inside the web browser. How about YouTube playback? Why don't we take a look at a video of the Droid DNA? YouTube-based video is going to be using HTML5 video. There is no Adobe Flash here.
This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and today we're looking at the HTC Droid DNA.
And we're doing this over Verizon's LTE 4G network. Volume is set at about 75%. Obviously, we popped out to full screen mode.
This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and today we're looking at the HTC Droid
Plays perfectly.
DNA.
Good lip sync.
Phones
Looks
that we've
good.
seen from HTC in a while, not that we've seen a lot of phones.
Again, very capable for $99. And for 1080p video playback, we'll take a look at our 1080p trailer here. MPEG 4, high profile. And it's playing it with no problem whatsoever. There's 1080p video playback for locally stored content. And on the back we have an 8 megapixel camera here, big viewfinder, easy stuff to use, on-screen shutter button right here, access to pictures that we've taken, all settings, flash control, whether or not it records audio, flipping between your front 1.3 megapixel camera and your rear 8 megapixel camera. You can do a tap to focus. That also helps it with exposure, obviously. And if we want to shoot video, and we can take pictures simultaneously while it's taking 1080p video. So the usual stuff that you'd expect to see here on Android. And the camera's pretty capable. It's an 8 megapixel camera, and it compares favorably to the Droid Razr camera. Not as good as the Samsung Galaxy S3 camera. That's one of the best camera phones on the market right now. So how about battery life? That's always been a little bit of a problem with LG phones, even though they have similar hardware to, say, some Samsung phones and other brands on the market. I noticed a little bit less runtime with this guy. The 2150 milliamp battery should certainly be enough to get you from the beginning of the day to the end of the day, that is, say, 7 a.m. to 11 p.m., and it just barely does that. Of course, it's going to depend if you're going to play a lot of 3D games, if you're going to stream a lot of video. That's harder on the battery than just simple web surfing, doing your email, getting quick directions, that kind of thing. But overall, yes, it does make it through the day, but I would say if you're a heavy user, you're probably going to have to plug it in by 8 p.m. at night. So that's the LG Spectrum 2. It's available now on Verizon Wireless, and if you really don't want to spend $200 or more for a phone on contract, it's not bad. Sure, it's not the best looking phone we've ever seen, but it's not the worst either. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.